But recently I acquired a Neo Geo AES complete in box. I wouldn't say it's in mint condition, because finding that one in mint condition is going to be even with a more hefty price tag. It does have some wear and tear due of the age of the box, but I think it's so cool to own a box. I'm just going to be honest, I am not really that box collector. For me, it's all about owning the original hardware with some games. But I did have the opportunity to get one, and I was more like, let's make a video about this. I would just wanted to give you an overview of the box itself, and you will see like there is a lot of wear here, especially on the edges. So maybe in the future I will get myself a box protector. I will put this thing in my collection where it's dry and where it's safe. But unfortunate, yeah, the age of the box, it's not going to be getting better from this point on. Of course the protector can help. In the inside we will have all of the styrofoam and everything is in good condition. But also in today's video I just want to share this unboxing experience when it comes to the Neo Geo AES. How was it back in the day getting to us? So when I'm looking at the overall quality of the styrofoam, it seemed to be in very nice condition, and I already mentioned that, but I was just flabbergasted. The quality of the Neo Geo system, it seems to be having not a lot of scratches. It will need a good clean, because I do see some wear and tear and some dust on it. It comes including one controller, an RGB SCART cable and the power supply. I don't know if this is an original cable that came with it, but I can tell you we do have like better solutions now. The controller is also in good condition, but not perfect, because the ball is cracked like every single one of them. It's just a general problem. You can see it over here. It comes with the original power supply. I cannot really use it because this is a 100 volt power supply and we're having 230 volts over here. I do have like a converter block that we will use in this video, and one of the things I have personally never seen is the original manual. And let's take a close look together with it, because let's see what are we going to get and what kind of stuff are they explaining in here. It comes with some extra cards. I'm just going to be honest, I have no idea what is going on over here. And it seems to be that this thing even comes with an original certificate. Let's scroll through the manual itself. Also the manual is in very nice condition. There is no weird folding, like folded pages or something like that. And it explains basically how you need to connect the system, the controller, and how everything works. And they're also going to mention even the memory card that we're also going to talk about later on in this video. But that is basically what I'm going to get inside the box itself. And again, there are even some upgrades when it comes to the cables and the power supply. So that's also what we're going to talk about in this video. But for me, when it comes to the video games, I really love the cartridge itself. They are absolutely gigantic. I have a very humble collection and they will stay this way, with a simple reason, because everything Neo Geo related, especially the AES, is crazy expensive. My personal humble collection exists of original AES and also a couple of multi-game card systems, but later we're going to talk about it more. So the games that having from the AES system originally, no MVS conversions, they're like the cheaper games, because I cannot spend more than €100 on a single game. Only there is one exception, and that is Xeno Crisis for the AES. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I picked up this game for every single system, including Steam. I'm such a big fan of theirs, and noticing that you can buy an AES limited edition, this is just such a cool opportunity. I don't want to even mention how much I paid for this, because it's absolutely expensive compared with, let's say, all the other games I'm having. But compared with, say, the price now, it's absolutely a great deal. I really love the snap box they're using, and it gives still like a little bit of a Neo Geo AES old school feeling. Inside the package we're going to get ourselves the cartridge. Later on we're going to talk about some more about this, and of course we do have like a lot of goodies, including a manual. And I think this is just one of those cool ways to play when it comes to the AES, and an opportunity I just needed to grab, because I love Xeno Crisis but also my AES. So this is, I think this is one of my most expensive games I ever bought for it. But let's talk about the configuration of the buttons and of course Xeno Crisis on the Neo Geo AES. It's not perfect. With, let's say, in Sega Genesis Mega Drive controller, we have 6 buttons, so we have like 4 of them can be used for, let's say, shooting to a certain direction. And a couple of them can be used for, let's say, a grenade. You know, as we were missing out, or and the dash, don't forget the dash. So we're only having like 4 buttons, so there is no option of configuring that. How cool would it be like walking at this and shooting to a certain direction, but we're missing out just a couple of, let's say, shoulder buttons, for example. So that is a thing that we're having with the Neo Geo version. Not a big problem, but something I just needed to mention. But let's take a closer look at the gameplay itself. It runs really well. It's so much fun playing this game on my AES. I know a couple of people even bought it for the MVS system. That's absolutely great. But one thing is fact, I really suck at this game. But let's do a quick overview of the cartridge itself. These things are absolutely huge, even coming with 2 PCBs. So I really love what they're doing over here when it comes to the newer generation. The unfortunate thing is, like here you can see, my sticker's getting a little bit loose. Let's be very gentle, put it back. At the back we're also going to get a serial number. I know these things can still be bought on different places, but not original. And I mean, like, there are some reproduction going around. So take consideration, if you're going to find a Xeno Crisis, always double check if it comes even with the original sticker. What I understand of the fake one doesn't have this. But let's talk about the cartridge size, because this thing is absolutely huge. So when you're comparing this with a Super Famicom cartridge or Super Nintendo cartridge, or you're just going to compare this with a Mega Drive, you can see how huge this cartridge is. Like, of course, if you're holding this in your hand, then you're going to be even like noticing that it's always quite difficult to show you and giving you an exact like idea how big it is. But I can tell you, it's absolutely huge. But if you want to start collecting when it comes to Neo Geo, there are a couple of different ways to go to. So I already spoken about the AES, the home console system, and this is basically like a reproduction, or better said, a new game they released for it. But there's also a reproduction that we're going to talk about later on too. But this is the MVS version, and the MVS, they are like significant cheaper than it comes to the AES. But even this thing looks very similar when it comes to the 2 PCB board. This doesn't fit on the AES, and also the other way around. There are converters for this, and of course if you want to play a Metal Slug like I'm having over here, this cartridge, it's still expensive, but it is so much more cheaper than getting the one from the AES. It doesn't come with a fancy box, and the other thing they also do is like having a conversion where they converted the MVS version into an AES cartridge. But again, for me, like, it's maybe a great way to play, to get these things cheaper, but I have like some double feeling around it, because for me, you're having the original games, reproduction, or new games like Xeno Crisis, or you're just having the MVS. And converting the MVS to AES, you know, it's kind of having a double feeling about it. Let me know in the comments what you think about the situation. Would you consider picking up a cartridge? But if you just want to have an AES in your collection and want to play a couple of more games than you're having, or you don't want to pay like 2, 3, 4,000 for a freaking game, it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. But then of course we're having the option to use yourself a multi-game card. Oh, for the people wondering, is there a Neo Geo flash card? There is, but also that one is absolutely difficult to find and super expensive. So in my opinion, one of the cheapest way is getting a multi-game card. So over here we're having the MVS version. That's basically the one I've talked about, like the arcade system, not the home version we're talking about here in this video. This is just basically like one of those multi-game cards you're going to get. The downside is that we do have not every single game on here. We do have like a lot of cool games, but unfortunately it is like very limited. But in here we're going to find the cartridge. If you're going to get them like separately, we do have like a way cheaper, just a way to get them. Also, we have like a different like rabbit hole to search and to check out, because we have like different multi-game cards out there. I think I found in total 4 of them. This is version number 2, because it does still have problems like version number 1. So over here we're going to get 2 of the 4 versions. And what do I mean with 4? So what you're basically going to get is, this is version number 1 and version number 2. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understand of these cartridges, so basically they are like the same. Maybe this one has like some minor improvements, but when it comes to certain games, it still have problems. So unfortunate, and it seems to be there is a new version out there. Didn't get the chance to review it, but that thing seems to be having alphabetic order and having way more fixes. And there was also, what I understand, is like this cartridge comes also in a green color. Don't know if there are any like differences when it comes to the quality. Maybe we can check out also that in the future. But the multi-game card is one of those really cheap ways to play. But there is also another thing you need to take consideration with this. Take a close look at the list, and what you can see already here is just one big freaking mess. No alphabetic order like on the box. We're having here SNK vs Capcom, plus we're having the RMX. We're having here another versions. What the hell, SNK vs Capcom Super Plus, and so on and so on. So when you're pressing up and down, we go to the next game. With left and right, we can choose the next page. I'm going to scroll quickly to the list, and what you can see, all double games. Look at this list. King of Fighters 2002. Look how many versions we're going to get. I wish they wouldn't do that, and I was hoping with the version number 2 that they just remove all of the double stuff Okay, if let's say if we're having a blood version with the Plus Edition, I can understand they're going to put 2-day games on it, but still, it's just filling up the list. But then getting later on the list, we're going to see that there are not a lot of doubles anymore, but there are missing out games like Sengoku 2. We're having 1 and 3, but we don't have 2. Kind of a bummer in my opinion. And you can see that we're having here Puzzle Bubble 1 and 2. Going any further. So here you can see that here we don't have any doubles left. So that is quite interesting to see that they messed it up with the beginning of the list. You need to remember your numbers like with the Pandora's boxes. But let's take a close look at the power supply, because this is a different story. So if you're going to use an original AES game and you guys are going to use yourself the original power supply, there is no problem whatsoever. For me, I cannot use this because this thing is AC 100 volts and we are using 230 volts over here. So this is what I'm going to need to use. I personally really hate these things. I need to get myself a new one. It needs to be correct. Something happened. But the thing is, I need to plug in this thing and just like use it like this. And again, this thing makes some zooming sound. I really freaking hate it. So what I'm going to do, and that's another thing you need to take consideration. If you're getting yourself like a different power supply, not only for the region you're living in like me, but when you're using an MVS game with a converter, but also when you're having like the multi-game card, what I understand of the thing needs to have more juice. So in my case, I'm going to get myself like a Lite-On, and yeah, some of them say like you need to double check if everything is like corresponding to your version Neo Geo. Yeah, this thing seems to be 12 volt. It needs me no problem, but I am always super careful with this. Yeah, I think I need to double check over here because you have like different kind of versions when it comes to the power supplies they are selling you. Of course, you can always get yourself like a universal. It's always better to get yourself like the right voltage. But this is something you need to be very careful with. And I'm going to double check this. Yeah, this can't be right. But there's another thing. The cables. So when it comes to this original version I'm having over here, or I don't even know if this is an original cable. Looks like not really an original cable, but doesn't matter. So this thing just have like a SCART connector. If you want to have like the ultimate experience when it comes to Neo Geo, a good cable is necessary. So there's this company in the UK, or a couple of them. This is one of those like cool novelties.co.uk, but there are a couple of things out there selling like special cables. This, for example, needs the plug at the front, so we have what I understand of stereo sound. But also when it comes to the cables, also here we're having like a major difference. But playing on the Neo Geo, also there we do have like different options and solutions. Some are dirty cheap, some need to be avoided, and some are just freaking awesome. An experience you will never forget. But let's talk about the controllers. The one I was really disappointed is this weird looking Sega Saturn controller. We have shoulder buttons, that's absolutely great, but you need to push them in really hard, and it's absolutely a piece of garbage. The D-pad is more like this floating D-pad we will find on a Sega Genesis controller, but I can tell you, like, this is not the experience you want, and this is something you absolutely should avoid. The original Neo Geo CD controller, the first time I just played with this was absolutely great, and it was an experience I will never forget. The button configuration is different because of the size of the controller, because when you're looking at the arcade stick, they are basically putting in a row over here. That's basically what I understand the original configuration of the Neo Geo games. But in the end, like, this controller is so cool. It's such a weird experience too, because you're having no D-pad, you have just the micro switch, like tiny joysticks under your thumb. It's really cool. I love it, and also the controller ergonomics. I am just in love with this thing. Then we're having the arcade, let's say the controller that came with it at the right side, and the left side we're going to get ourselves the arcade version or the arcade stick for the Neo Geo CD, what I understand of. They're always coming with this very nice clickies. Oh man, this sound is great. We can make an ASMR video about this, but it's absolutely great. We're having different kind of buttons. They are bigger than the previous model over here, but they play great. They're like membrane buttons, not like the micro switch that we have seen with, say, Pandora's boxes and stuff like that. But last but not least, that we're going to get ourselves the original arcade stick. The form factor is so ergonomic. When you're looking at the way how this thing looks, I realize, by the way, I need to clean this thing more often. Or I didn't clean it at all. It does have some wear and tear on it. Of course, the ball is cracked, so maybe in the future I will replace that. We do have some wear over here when it comes to the logo, because they're putting their hand on here. But these things are quite old, of course. The buttons are smaller, also membrane. But I don't know, man. Like, when you're looking at the ergonomics, this thing plays so well. But which one is my favorite? That is quite difficult. I find it very difficult to say, because I really like both of them, and sometimes I just play with my Neo Geo CD pad. So when looking in this page of the manual that I've been looking at before in the beginning of this video, is as we're having over here talking about the memory card. And yup, Wicked does have one, because in the first, let's say, Neo Geo I bought, it came with a freaking memory card. So what I do understand of these things is that you need to open them up because there was something wrong with the battery inside, or that is what I understand is the situation. I just have this thing pure out of nostalgia and novelty. I just love this thing. But it was also like a solution for this. So JapaneseGameOnline.com, they also sell stuff on AliExpress. They are having like this option that we're even having like 2 banks. So this is just like a 2-in-1 memory card. In my opinion, it's of course for nostalgia region. If you want to display your Neo Geo, this is just the way to get. Maybe they have one that's refurbished, but this original or this new version that replaced the original is absolutely a great solution. But where do you slide it in? At the right front part. There is no valve like for closing up for dust. It's kind of interesting the way how they construct this. Just sliding in your memory card and that's it. Let's slide in the different one just to see how this fits. When it comes to the size, it's perfect. And that's it. I must say the construction is quite nice. But let's take a close look at the system itself, because it's quite just a very interesting and very huge one. Like the cartridge, everything is huge with Neo Geo. Over here, the reset button at the front, we're going to get ourselves 2 controller ports. The volume control is over here. Then we're having the on and off switch, the memory card slot. And let's take a close look at the back. This is an original system. It's not modded, because there are like modifications out there or modded NVS of AES. I'm saying it wrong. And here we're just having the AV out and the input for the power. But when it comes to, let's say, play original Neo Geo, of course, within CRT would be like the ultimate way. To be honest, I don't really mind it sometimes to play actually on an LCD. Using the right cable, it does look very nice. I know he was going to jump. Different game, and again on the LCD. And this game I also picked it up and combined with Fatal Fury 2, and I didn't right before, so that's something I just wanted to do. So yeah, let's record it and let's play some. Oh, I completely messed up with this game. I put it on normal. I completely forgot how, like, oh man, how awful some of the Neo Geo games are when it comes to difficulty and the CPUs. So let's go into the full retro mode. Let's try out Xeno Crisis, brand new released from the Bitmap Bureau for the AES. Freaking awesome, and we're going to play it old school style. And we're also going to try it out with the Neo Geo CD controller.
Your mission begins now. Room cleared.
A lot of the games are financially out of my reach, so if you want to play, the only way is a naughty way. There are flash cards, but those are like super expensive too, so the multi-game card is a great way to play, but it is not perfect. I made a full review about it and it did have a lot of errors inside. And despite it's also like an incomplete collection, we still have a lot of cool games to play that are quite expensive. And again, like the multi-game card is an easy way if you don't want to swap every single time in your original games and you just want to put them in your collection. And again, the multi-game cards are not very cheap too, also this is super expensive. But in the end, Neo Geo is absolutely in a crazy way to play. Super expensive in many different ways, and there are some shortcuts I've shown you in this video. But again, like even the shortcuts, they are expensive. I think you need to be like a big, huge Neo Geo fan and like coming with deep pockets to get a couple of these items. And again, like I'm happy for the stuff I'm having with this humble collection. That is the thing you also need to take consideration if you want to buy everything nowadays. Besides having deep pockets, in my opinion, there are different ways to play Neo Geo that are just as fine. For now, I am very happy to have one of those AES systems in my collection. I just daily use it and I just really enjoy it. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.